Welcome to Soft Bites Podcast. Your life, your dentistry. We talk about ways to have more fun and meaning in one of the coolest and most rewarding professions in medicine. Conversations on how to bring awareness, create a healthy workplace, and provide emotional insights to make dentistry a fulfilling activity while making space for one's wonder, creativity, and freedom. Here are your hosts, Manuela and George Andre.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another
Good
episode of the
morning.
Soft Bites podcast. Hello, Andre. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm here. We just took a week off. The team that I do courses with, we came here to do an upgrade of the course. So we decided to close ourselves in a big house in the south of Portugal, in Algesur, just to do some upgrades of the course. So I'm great. Honestly, I'll be here like 6 months doing this.
Is that something that you usually do, or is it the first time?
No, we've been doing courses for maybe together for 10, 15 years. We have the newer elements are Joana Monteira and Kevin Oliveira. And so it's a group of 5, and we wanted to do some upgrades of the course and do some reviewing of the topics. So we just close ourselves. It's like a big brother, you know. But it's nice because we go out, we go surf, we go sightseeing, and it's very interesting.
It's kind of a team building, right?
Yeah, actually, it's very interesting because you know that if you go to a house and if you go on vacation with people that you are not very familiar with, it's always a little bit strange. But I know these guys for so many years, and it seems like family. You know, it's really fun to be here with them.
That's good.
Of course, there are many things that we do that are off the record. I mean, we are always listening to music and having fun and stuff. But it's very we are working. We are working as well.
But that's a creative environment, right? That's nice.
It is a creative environment. We hang around on the pajamas all day. We hang around in the pajamas all day. We go out we dress up just to go out and go to buy some groceries and stuff, and we go out to see the sights here that are very nice. It's been a very good time. We are like half the way. We still have the rest of the week, but it's been really fun.
And you guys are all the same age, if you don't mind me asking.
Paulo is, how old are you, Paulo?
60.
Paulo is 60. I'm 45. Rui Negrão is 45. Kevin is like, he's not even 30, and Joana is not even 30. But we get along it's very fun.
Okay. I'm asking because today's theme is about the challenges of employing newer generations. So
exactly.
So you have with you some dentists of the new generation. What do you have experiencing of employing a newer generation?
Yes. Well, regarding here the team of the course, they were our students, so they understand our philosophies, and I think that we learn both ways, and I think that we are all emotionally. I think that we are emotionally intelligent people, let's say it, and we get along pretty well. But I think that the key is interaction, you know, and learning from each other. And I think that we all grow in that. I mean, we are all very tolerant and respectful with each other because we are, above all, we are friends, and it's a good team.
It's based on
very
respect.
happy with it. Yeah, we are friends. We are friends. We are more than co-workers. Nice. We are friends. But you were asking me if I have experience of employing for the practice. Yes, I do. Even recently, I just hired. So my staff is the oldest dental nurse. She's 60, and then we have people of 30, and we also have people of 20s, like much younger. We have 3 of them are 20s, so it's a mix, and 2 of those they have been hired very recently. One of them, she is like she has a degree in multimedia, but she works in some other places, not in her area. She does some sides. She also does some of her design work. Another one, she worked in retail, but not that much deep. So most of my staff is not, let's say, differentiated. So they didn't have any formal education in dentistry. We are talking about dental nurses. Mm-hmm. And regarding the dentists, yes, I have. Most of them are younger than me. We have Teresa, that I think that she's almost 40. Then we have Margarita, also the same age. I hope I'm not saying anything wrong. And the oldest, Luis, I think is 30s as well. And with the pediatric dentist, she is 20s. So it's a good mix. Mm-hmm. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's a good. So yes, I do have experience with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think is the number one? I don't know if it's difficulty or the number one thing that it's different of employing new younger people, this new generation.
I wouldn't say difficult. I think that we have to think about it thoroughly. I mean, I think that I think that things are changing pretty fast. I think that the typical employee 30 years ago, here we are talking both dentists and staff. Mm-hmm. I think that the typical, let's say, employee, I don't like that name that much, but let's say collaborator. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. 30 years ago or 40 years ago and then 20 years ago and 10 years ago and even 5 years ago, it's different from what it is right now. Especially, I say that in the last 10 years, things have changed a lot. And there are different challenges, I would say. I think that my management style and leadership style has changed, especially over the last 10 years. I think it has changed because I try to adapt myself. Mm-hmm. Because
do you think that, sorry to interrupt you, do you think that the ones that didn't change, didn't adapt, are the ones that have more problems with this, when employing newer generations? Because
there's no choice, really. There really is no choice, because otherwise you will create a lot of issues. You will create, I mean, the leadership style that you had 20 years ago needs to be different. Of course, it depends from person to person, but if you are very stick to that style and if you think that is the only thing that works, I think that you will be in trouble. I think that you have to keep changing, and you have to be more fair and more tolerant. Because I think that actually the number one thing that the newer generations look for is fairness. Mm-hmm. So this sense of ethics and this sense of reasonability and a sense of tolerance is very embedded in the newer generations, which sometimes clashes in a profession that is healthcare. And in healthcare, we are dealing with humans, when we are dealing with medicine and health providing. So there's a seriousness in that. There's a strictness in that, in protocols. Yes, there is. So it is a challenge to bring collaborators in that are in some way that want some tolerance, and sometimes that balance is difficult. So they need to understand that there are things that should not happen, right, in terms of patient communication and patient management and the technical part, like sterilization and stuff like. I mean, there are some serious stuff that we deal with, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that there's a chance, which is making them understand that there is this part that needs to be strict, right? But we also need to be reasonable and be, I would say, more tolerant, because especially in the way that you if you have to call someone to the attention, if you have to do some remarks on the work of someone, you have to let your emotions aside and think thoroughly about what's the best way to talk to people. So this is why we talked about this many times in the podcast. I mean, you cannot talk to them from an emotional perspective, because especially if you are not in a good emotional place, because you are just angry because of what happened, you really have to get yourself together and just try to be as reasonable as possible. Because I think that what happens is that like I said, they are less tolerant with loss of control of the leader, for example. And it's very easy to do, and it happened to me many times. I mean, if you are angry, if you want to reprimand, I won't say reprimand, but if you want to tell someone that something should not happen, even if it's written or whatever, I think it's you have to control yourself. So I would say that the sense of fairness, they have it very rooted in their development, the sense of fairness, the sense of equal rights, the sense of
balance also.
They want to be treated of balance. Yeah, they want to be treated with respect first and foremost. So I think that you need to be able to show them that you are willing to be reasonable according to what is acceptable today, right? But you also have to make them understand that there are some things that they need to improve. And this is why we talked about this many times, that this is why that having systems and having things written down will really reduce the drama and the problems that may eventually happen. I don't know, you work with a lot of younger generations as well in your courses.
Yes.
So what do you think has changed recently?
Well, honestly, I think they have completely different values. So when from our generation and older generation, I think we even if our values are not those, but I think it's a generation that still the values were a lot about money and status and all of that, and success was still measured by the house with swimming pool and the car that you drive and all of that. This new generation, when I ask what success is for them, their answers are completely different things. Their answers is to have time for their family. Their answer is to be able to travel. Their answer is to be able to develop other skills besides dentistry. Their answer is to to have time to watch their kids grow. So their values is completely different. Our values we had to work on them, because they were almost they were not our values even. They were like
Yes.
we grown with them, and then we had to discover what we wanted. The ones that did that work and wanted to do that work and had the time to do that work. But this is in this new generation, it's like you said, that's very rooted on them. They already know that they have really strict boundaries. Sometimes they even are very aggressive in defending them, and they have this aggressive posture that can be a negative thing, of course, but
reactive.
But they are very assertive with their boundaries. Also, they have one thing, that's what you just said. They have something also that we didn't have. They have emotional intelligence. So this is a skill that they already start learning from a younger age. It's something that, again, we had to discover, we had to work, and we still are working it on ourselves. For them, it's a skill that they already master, and it's just like you said, they realize, and if you don't have it, they realize it, and they don't they will get you for that. So it for what my it leads me, and of course I don't want to generalize, and it's
Yeah,
dangerous to
of
do
course.
so, but I think that what my opinion is that due to this they are much more assertive. So they are more, they
Yes.
have easily, they communicate more easily what they want and their boundaries. I had
Yes.
I had
Yes.
much difficulties to do that in my first 10 years of career. And I started
Yeah.
doing it because I was exhausted, mentally and physically exhausted. And I had to discover another way of living my profession. And for them, because they are all have this, and this is part of who they are much more assertive in their communication and in communicating what they want. And they are, and also because I mean for them it's the story of having a job for a lifetime, all of those concepts that we still grow with, that they don't have that anymore. So of course it's a completely different generation, but I
Yes.
for me it has a lot of to do a lot about values and yes, emotional intelligence, just like you said, just like you said.
You were saying something that they have more developed emotional intelligence, right? So I'm going to bring something to the table, which is, and we heard this a lot, which is they are much less driven, or at
Mm-hmm.
least we see that as less driven people. What do
Mm-hmm.
I mean by
Mm-hmm.
that? I was even recently hearing someone talk, doing something, saying something like, "Well, if you are like someone that is driven, that really wants success in whatever that is in that work. I mean, the classical approach to success. I mean, being financially independent soon and making money and being successful in commerce to the eyes of society. If you have that drive, you will basically eat alive the recent generations because they are very soft. So this is not something that I said. This is something that I heard,
Mm-hmm.
and I understand that point of view. I understand that point of view, but I think that we may be misled. I mean, I don't think it's a lack of drive. I think that priorities are different,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
from our perspective of success, it may seem like a drive. Okay, having said that, I don't agree with that approach. I also need to say this. Um, I think that um, we are entitled to say and defend whatever we want. But I think that we also have the responsibility of not of trying to be as independent. I'm not saying financially, as independent from other people as soon as possible. What do I mean by that? I think it makes no sense that if you defend respect and fairness and work equality, etc. I think that does not make sense if you don't bring something to the table, if you don't bring your drive, and if you don't, if you don't work at it. Because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, you have to find ways of being financially dependent or independent in your life. Okay, yes, you may say, well, I want to go and live in Latin America in a hut and fish and don't need any money. That's fine, that's independence. But if you want to live in the society that we live today, if you want to have your house, if you want to be able to have vacation, if you want to buy the stuff that you want, whatever that is, you have to be independent financially. So I think that the newer generations, they also need to hear this. Yes, you may defend whatever you want, which is more than fine, and most of the things that you defend, they are perfectly reasonable, but you will lose your power if you are only talking and not showing that you can actually bring something to the table, right? I mean, if you don't have that drive, you will, of course, be less powerful in that message. So I think that there needs to be that balance, because let's be honest, if everything is you grow with struggle, you grow with difficulties, you grow with challenges, you grow and it's very important in the stage of our lives that we just get our heads down and do the work, because at the end of the day, that is really important. Even, for example, we are here on the course, and we are doing the periods on the course, and we have to lay our head down and stay in the computer and stick to it step by step, doing that boring job. You have to write that business plan. You have to write that. You have to prepare yourself for that interview. You have to show that you are someone that can show up on time and ready to do the job, isn't it? Because I don't think that tolerance is very important, but there are things that whenever your freedom crashes with other people's rights and freedom, then you have an issue. So I think this is not all Woodstock and flower power and shanty. Of course, you have to be able to show that you are a responsible person, that you respect people around you, right? So I think
you have
that
to
needs
be
to be
able
this
to do the
balance.
work. Yeah, you have to be able to do the work, and you have to be able to endure the not so nice part, because I think that's what you are
Yes.
saying. Okay, that there's the good part, and
Yes.
then but for you to get to the good part, you have to also endure the not so good part. So I think that you're absolutely right. I think this newer generation grow up with almost no difficulties, right? They have everything is
Yeah.
at the tip of their fingers
Yeah.
nowadays. And
Yes.
and sometimes that can be misleading, and that they can think that everything is going to be easy, so it's just the fun part. It's that also that idea that they want to reach the top places very fast, and
Very soon.
that does not
Yeah.
happen like that. So
Yeah.
you have to be able to be good at what you do. For that, you have to try and fail many times, and you
Yeah.
have to endure
Exactly.
the bad part and the not so nice part. My
Yeah.
experience, and with the young dentists that I work, what I see is they are very intelligent, and they are willing to do the hard part, and they are willing to endure the boring and the hard work. But they have this but, they have this but. And
Yes.
just like you said, but if I have respect, but if I
Yes.
keep my balance, but if they respect my personal hours, but if
Yeah.
I continue to have time for my surfing and traveling.
Yeah.
Do you understand what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So the
I
thing
completely
here
understand.
with them is that I think they balance it much more than us. Us, we put hard working, and
Yeah.
if we need it, we gave up all of those things, and we
Yeah.
find it natural because it has to be that way. For them, they say, okay, I do the hard work, I do the boring part, but I have to continue to have this, and
Yeah.
that's one
Yes.
of the reasons, for example, why and nowadays we are seeing this tendency of working less hours, because they need to
Yes.
continue to have the time for the other stuff that
Yeah.
they enjoy doing, and that gives them the energy. So that is the experience that I have with young dentists. And also a very interesting thing, and it's kind of a pattern of the young dentists that I work with, is that they use part of their time of non-clinical work to develop other projects, even dentistry related or non-dentistry related, but to work on other things. So it's just not only to travel, it's just not only to surf, it's not only to couch surfing, whatever. It's just not only to play games
Yeah.
online, but it's to actually develop other skills and to develop other work. So I think that yes, they are driven, but they always have this, so they value the other part. So and again, this goes what I said to you earlier. They are very strict with their boundaries. They are very strict with their boundaries. And
Yes.
if you are
Yes.
and if you, like you said in the beginning, did not evolve in your leadership skills and in the way that you manage a practice, if you still manage your practice the same way that you did 20 years ago,
Yeah.
then you will clash with this new generation, because they have very they are very assertive with their boundaries, and they will say, okay, I don't work 5 days a week, I work 4 days a week. And you will say to them, but when I started, I work and even Saturdays, I work
Yeah.
6 days a week from 9 to 9. And
Yeah.
they
You can
take this,
very
and if you have this this finite mindset, then you will uh, see this new generation as lazy, for example. And they are
exactly.
not lazy. They are not
Yeah.
lazy.
Yeah. Yeah. While we were
Mm-hmm.
talking, I was just here taking some notes. Let me give you a practical example. So we have a list of things that we maybe summarize in the end. So the sense of fairness is very important. We talked about, and you also mentioned the working hours. One of the things that I did recently over the last year was my staff basically they would do so I have the cleaning of the practice by an external company um, once every week. But my staff would clean the practice, would like the daily cleaning of the practice every day at the end of the day. And I remember that I talked to them, especially when the staff team started to expand. I talked to them, look, what do you think that we could do so that you would not work extended hours? Because because let's say the agreed hours that we have with them is an X amount, but sometimes they can stay like for half an hour more. Sometimes if there's an emergency, like for 1 hour more. And of course, I try to compensate them with that. But I think it's not predictable. I think that newer generations want some predictability. They don't want to be in a place where they don't know if they go out at 6, at 7, or at 8. They want some predictability there. So one of the things that I implemented was, okay, so how can we save some time? I said, well, if we could have someone that came here every day to do the cleaning, that would save us about half an hour at the end of the day. So I did that. So the company started to do like deep cleaning once in a week, and daily cleanings. I mean, everything would be cleaned and disinfected by the external company. They arrive at around 8 in the evening, and they do the cleaning every day. And I gain about half an hour for my staff. So I was basically could be more in tune with what was promised to them. So that's just a practical example of what of things that you can do. And the thing is that, which brings me to another topic, which is to be in permanent communication. I mean, if you are dealing with the newer generations and they are more demanding in some ways, you have to be, and that this is a rule for everything, of course, you have to be in constant communication with them and asking for some feedback, because I think that they appreciate that. They appreciate that someone cares for them and that someone is listening to them and is willing to do some changes in order to, if they feel it makes sense. But I think that the extended hours is something that really is a no-no for these generations. They want to be able to book a dinner. They want to be able to go out to do yoga. They want to be able to do this stuff. One of the things that I do in my team is that I pay them extra activities like gym or yoga, whatever they want, and there's a platform that the practice pays for them, and I think that's also a nice
Mm-hmm.
tip. But yes, the
That's
extended hours
included
are
on the
very,
company taking care of your mental health, huh? That's a measurement for that. I was saying to you before we start
yes,
recording that there's this study that came out that said that young people, when they are looking for jobs and they
yeah,
see information about the company, they start to ask if the company has a mental health policy.
yeah,
So, and what they do, what is the company measures to
yeah,
take care of the mental health of their employees. So, what you
yeah,
described can be one of those measures.
yeah, yeah. They are curious on the policies of the companies for mental health.
Mm-hmm,
Yes, yeah, yeah.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Another thing that so you mentioned that they are very curious on side jobs and other interests. What about social skills? What is your take on that? What is your experience? Do you think that, I mean, the most, there's this caricature, there's this cartoon of the newer generation that they just look at their phone and their social skills are a little bit impaired. One of the big themes today in America is the especially in intimate relationships, because we see that in the most developed countries an issue with it, like in Japan or in some places of Northern Europe, there is this crisis in intimate relationships because the social skills for romantic relations are a little bit impaired. But but placing that aside, and it's difficult to differentiate that, of course, because I think that employees they should be seen as a complete person, and if their social skills towards in their romantic relationships or even in their working relationships, if the social skills are impaired, that will obviously have an impact not only in the way in dentistry that they treat customers, but also in the way that they interact with a team. What do you think
mm-hmm,
about that? What do you think about the social skills of the newer generations? Of course, that we are always generalizing, right? And it's never like
mm-hmm,
that.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I think that yeah, they're completely. It's a completely
Socially
different
impaired.
generation.
No,
Yeah. No. No, I think they have it. They have social skills, but it's we cannot uh, again generalize. I think they are very aware nowadays. For me, I start to see that there's these two big groups, introverts and extroverts. And if they are very aware if they are introverts and extroverts, and also of
hmm
what gives them energy and what drains their energy.
yeah,
I think, for example, in dentistry, one of the most important things in a clinic, and you say it also, and we are saying it here all the time, is to have protocols. So if you need to go to this kind of detail, because if you know that you have to say hello to the person, if you know that you have to say thank you, if that eliminates a lot of communication stress. And there are certain people, even introverts or extroverts, introverts because they have problems communicating, extroverts because sometimes they communicate too much, that will level up the communication. And I think that's very valuable, and it reduces stress a lot. um, but but then I think that nowadays, and with this new generation, they are very aware of others, and I think that even if the other person does not realize your or doesn't really understand your communication, they can even tell you, and they can even tell you, look, I'm an introvert, and
yeah,
I don't do small talk, for example.
yes,
um,
yeah,
so I think they are much more assertive in communicating, even if it's saying that they are drained by certain kinds of communication. But I
yeah,
think that if you establish certain guidelines in communication, and also in an environment like a company or a clinic, if you give the information to the person, if you teach them how to, that takes out a lot of drama and a lot of
Yeah.
stress, and then
Yeah.
there's the same guidelines for everyone, and I think that's very valuable.
Yeah.
I don't know if what you think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something that I'm very fond of. We do that in a very, very intentional way, in a very, very objective way. Also, for example, actually last weekend, my team was doing a course of a company that I called to come to my practice and provide a course on patient communication face to face and patient communication by the telephone. They came and they do, and of course that I pay because they spend there a full Saturday. I let them decide what would be the best day. They spent there a full Saturday on patient communication skills. And I'm going to also have, by the same company, emotional intelligence for the team. So why did I think we try to do this like once every year or once every 2 years, but why did I think that this time was the perfect time in my practice? Well, my practice the staff grew about 20 to 30% over the last 1 year. And we also have some construction, so that there was some turbulence, let's say, in the work environment because of the construction. There were 2 people that came almost at the same time that were younger and different personalities than the ones that were older there. And we know, humans, I think that, and I think I am particularly good at anticipating drama, I'm very bad at many things, but one thing that I am good is that I can smell when drama is about to happen. So let me tell you a story here. When one of my staff members left because she wanted to upgrade her education, which was fine, and then I had 2 of the older staff that were with me for about 10 to 15 years. And 2 of them came new. One of them, she had a degree, the other one didn't have, but they were in their 20s. And they came the 2. And one of actually, I had 3 older and 2 that came new. I mean, it was not like a smooth entrance in the way that there would be time to accommodate one, and then after a couple of years, time to accommodate another. So they came 2 at the same time. And they were friends because they worked in the same place before. So if you distantiate yourself from the situation, so you have 3 people that work with you for between 20 and 5 years, and another one and 2 others that come recently. If you are not, the most obvious thing that might happen is a shock, right? Because I mean, everything that is new can be scary, right? So, and we are humans, and especially if you are not emotionally intelligent, and even if you are, I mean, you are human. So there are some new people here. What's going to change? Are we going to lose rights? Isn't it? I mean, I believe that I am a leader that people can trust, even though I say that. I mean, it's just human nature, right? So I have decided that with 6 staff now, we came to a point where I need to have one of them that would do the administrative work and management. So the older one, she liked to be in the reception. So I knew that she wants to be at the reception and dealing with patients. So that position was fixed. One of the others, which is a guy that does image and X-rays and takes care of all the digital parts and stuff like that. And then I had 2 of them, which were the olders, that I went to them and I said, look, I want to have a nurse here that can be my extension. Why? Because I don't want to be taking care of all the administrative work and management work. So it's like when you say that to a nurse, they say, well, I will have one of them will be the boss of the nurses, right? That's what you are saying. So This will be the boss of the nurses. So hierarchically, I went to the older ones after by age of working with me, and I said, look, do you want to take this role? You will have some advantage because you'll have a computer for yourself. You can stay maybe 1 or 2 mornings at home doing some remote working. You'll have your own cell phone. But your responsibility will be doing some sort of the practice management. And I told them, you are not going to be the boss of them. You are just going to facilitate the procedures. I mean, it's just a very soft way of placing things, isn't it? And but I was clear with them, and one said, "Oh no, I don't want that. I don't want to be controlling my colleagues." And I went to the other one. She said the same. She said, "Oh, I don't want that." Okay, so. And from the two of the new ones, one of them, she was a designer or something related to that. And she started to do some video editing, some photography for the practice for social media. And the other one, I asked her, look, do you like administration management? Yes, I do like that. I like organized stuff. Okay, so what happens in my staff, someone that got in less than 1 year ago was taking the role of management. You understand? So that can be, even though I was careful enough of having that conversation with the older ones, I said, are you sure that you don't want, are really sure, because this can be an interesting position. And he said, no. Okay, so the newer one came and assumed that role, but because she had a profile for that and she wanted to do that. So when this happens, you must be you are just looking at the show, and of course that it will cause some crashes and dramas, right? And so this was the right time to bring someone to talk about emotional intelligence, about leadership. And I'm also doing, and this new one is, I'm also paying her some courses on people management and leadership. And something that I always tell her, I say, look, I know human nature is like this. You will have some issues. I talk to all the team, you will have some issues. And of course, that this may create jealous, this may create drama. But one thing, the biggest tip that I have to tell is that just please don't be reactive. And if something is not working well, just let me know and we'll talk. And so, for example, one of the issues that we have was that in terms of the time schedule of each assistant with a given doctor was a bit chaotic, which was based like on the personal preferences of the older assistants and the dentists. Do you understand? So once I realized that, we made a new schedule. So it's rotating. Everybody knows that at Monday, irrespectively of the experience of the assistant, it is Dr. X that's going to be with Dr. Z, with the nurse Z, because that's just at the end of the week, we always have that schedule. And why did I also have the authority to tell my dentist, look, I know you like to work with X because she's more experienced, but you also have to work with Z because she is less experienced. Because whenever I work, even in complex cases, I make sure that I work with the newer nurses. Always. Mm-hmm. The newer nurses, if I am working, they always come and work with me. Why is that? Because I think I have the confidence and patience enough to be able to teach the new nurses. Even, of course, that if they are completely inexperienced, they are with an older nurse and see me working. And as soon as possible, I start to work with a new nurse. It demands from myself much more interaction and much more talk to the newer nurse. But I have to think to myself, look, this is a newer nurse. I want her to be working with me. So I have to have a complete communication with her at every times. Okay. But I also need to have the work environment in terms of organization and systems to be able to do that. I don't want to tell my nurse, so go and pick up that instrument that is like, I don't even know where that instrument is. So all the logistics of the practice must be able to facilitate this communication with the newer nurses. So because I work with the newer nurses, I could be able to do a schedule that everybody would stick to it. Because if I said, no, I only want to work with the older ones because I don't want to be losing time teaching someone new. Of course, that I will not have the. It would not be legitimate for myself to demand from my older dentists to work with the newer nurses, because I tell them, look, if I teach them, if I correct them, you must also be able to do so. So this is just an example of how the newer generations can eventually crash with the older generations, and implementing some systems to be able to make that transition smoother. So at the end of the day, we are always talking about organization and communication and systems implemented. So I thought that was just something interesting to share with.
I'm sure you have experience with young dentists that go and, for example, watch your appointments, because I think that's a very critical time in your in your life, because these usually are they are usually very worried on that time about their developing their technical skills. They are very with their head very deep on the books and in the articles. And what is your experience with young dentists on that critical phase of almost finishing university or already finishing university and starting their career? How is your what is your feedback on communication skills at that time? Because I think that social skills on that time are still not, for them, it's not something that they still value. I think after they understand that they need to develop them, but at that time in their early career, it's not something that they are worried about.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, because there's a lot of layers into that, and there's a huge importance into that, because, well, the standard of client management in general, that's one standard. But in terms of patient management, I mean, if you go to a healthcare provider, you expect to feel safe. I mean, it's a much more, I would say, difficult rapport to establish, because people are. I mean, the patient is fragile. They look for confidence. They look for signs of support. They look for signs of empathy and rapport and caregiving. So I would say that the patient relationship in dentistry, in healthcare in general, it's like client relationship in steroids, isn't it? I mean, it's more difficult, and there are more nuances, and you have to get a better grip on yourself. And the question that you just asked is very different. So yeah, it's very important. Yes, you said that I do have many times dentists out of the college that go and see me work. And I'm going to tell you what happens if you are not careful. Some examples. So the dentist comes in and you say nothing to them, and they have no clue of what's the style of your practice or the culture of your practice, and they go inside. So rule number one, and I always did that, which is I first am with the patient, and then I ask permission for the patient to be able to have someone to assist the appointment. That's very important. I mean, it's not like you arrive there, and you don't say anything to the patient, and you just expect them to feel comfortable. And for some patients, I don't do that, because I know they don't feel comfortable doing that. Okay, that's very important. But then they come in, and if you are not careful, they may bring their phone, or they may be doing some comments that are not adequate to the environment of the practice, or they may be talking about something else like the weather or what they did last night. I mean, it may sound absurd to you, but if someone is completely inexperienced, that may happen, you know. Or, for example, something that happened that I find it really funny, which is I am treating a patient, and I just get the chair up for the patient to go and take a rinse, and they are in that area, and they stand there just very close to the patient while the patient is rinsing. So they also need to have the notion of personal space, you know. So there's a rule that I have, which is if someone is present in my appointments, if the patient is about to rinse, they have to leave that space, because it's like what they are doing may be a little bit awkward, you know. So how did I solve that? We have two documents in our management protocol that we'll talk a lot about in the course that we give to the participants. And two of the documents are conduct of the dentists and conduct of the staff. So for the conduct of the dentists, one of the things that we write down is they should not bring their cell phone inside the appointment. They should not have conversations out of the scope of what's happening in the room. It does not mean that cannot be a joke or something, but at least in the first contact with a patient, you need to be able to show professionalism. So you need to have an attitude of professionalism. Like, for example, you cannot be just placing yourself in the wall and listening to your phone and chatting and texting your phone. If you are assisting in my appointments, you cannot be invading the patient's space while the patient is rinsing. You should not have conversations that are not clinically relevant. You can ask questions, but you cannot say anything that can be eventually awkward for the patient. For example, you can say, well, it's bleeding a lot, right? You cannot have these sorts of comments, of course. So the way that I try to fix it is that they, of course, if they are in the staff, they know that's very important. We have regular meetings. But if they are not in the staff and they come just once or twice to see me work, I email them that. The team emails them that so that they can take a read and see how they can behave before they arrive. So if they should bring their scrub or not, how they should behave, what are the rules, we let them know that in advance. So like you were saying, if their social skills are lacking, like they are invading the personal space of the patient, and we also talk a lot about that, especially when male dentists are treating female patients or when female dentists are treating male patients. You want to make sure that any awkwardness gets reduced as much as possible. We want to make sure that there's a light and professional talk. So we want to have control over that. We want to have control. It's not like a dictatorship, but we want to have control because it is true that social skills are not the best in this new generation in terms of invading someone else's space, of what are the themes of conversation and so on. So we control that. We advise them and we send them our protocol so they can read before.
I think that's so important and that's so needed because for every dentist, because I think that in the university we see teeth and it's a very basic dentistry, right, that you learn in the university. So it's like you treat teeth and they don't teach you, and they don't teach you those things that you just said. And it, of course, it's such a technical course, and there's so much to talk about. There's no time, but those simple things that you said and that we all learn with time. But if you have someone that says that basic things to you, and that shows you, I think that's very very important, and it should be done. It should be done. Did you ever had any feedback about that? Did you ever, did anyone already told you, oh, thank you for this?
They like it. Most people, they like it. I think a few years ago, it was awkward when I said something like, for example, just make sure, if I talk, especially in the courses, it was a little bit awkward if I tell someone, look, if someone, if you are a dentist and if you find your patient attractive by any sense, just make sure that you don't make things awkward, And this sort of conversation was a little, people would laugh and stuff like that. But today, I think that they get it, and they get it better, and they understand the importance of that, because I think that they thank you because it's funny because no one ever taught them that or told them that, and today they like it because they have a guideline of how they should behave, and they understand some things, and they think about things that they wouldn't think about in any other way. So yes, the feedback is usually very, very positive. Yeah.
Okay, so tell me another question that I was thinking. What do you think? I know that you love to teach and you love to add value.
Hmm.
But I'm interested to know what have you been learning with this new generation, because
Generation. Yes, I
I
have.
yeah, I know that
Yes, yes,
you and your way also of management, and it's a lot of inputs from others.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
what have you
I
been learning with this new
I
generation?
think it's actually I'm listening to a very interesting book, The Creative Act from Rick Rubin, which is one of the best music producers of all time. One of the things that he says is for creativity you need to be aware of what's going on. Just go out on the street and see people, see that strange things that they are doing, see the way that they dress, and see nature. Just absorb everything to be creative. And one of the things that I learned, for example, with my new team members is that if the patient is not present, things can be happy and funny and laughing and hearing music and stuff like that. And I think that it seems obvious. Wait a minute, but if we are all together, I mean, why couldn't we just say jokes and have fun? I say that I did that, but especially the newer staff just goes along and they follow in and they like to have fun with me and with the staff, and that's something that I think it's important to make things light when they don't need to be heavy. I mean, in the patient with the patient office, of course, that sometimes stress is high, and yes, you can do some jokes and stuff, but it's different, right? But if we are all together, if the patient is not present, if no one is, I mean, we can have fun, isn't it? I mean, we can make jokes, and that's one of the things that I learned, that you need to have those fun times within the practice when they are possible, especially when the team starts to get big and big and big. And that was a transformation, because I think that I thought that culture, the to have a responsible culture, you have to have like a responsible attitude every single time. Well, you don't have to have the responsible
Mm-hmm.
culture every single. Of course, you need to be respectful, but you need to have fun as well. And
Mm-hmm.
if things are possible, then we should have fun. For example, we are here doing the course update. So we are five guys on the sofas, just brainstorming, writing down a common text document just to work on some stuff. But for example, I can clearly see that at a certain time of the day, Rui needs to stop and go surfing, and we go surfing, you know. But because if it doesn't do that, it's going to be much less productive. And we need to listen to some
Mm-hmm.
music, and we
Mm-hmm.
need to have fun.
Yes.
We need to
Mm-hmm.
go out and for a walk, and we need to. I think that the team itself, the aura of the team is more important than one every single person. So we understand that some people go faster than the others, some people have more work than the others. Rui needs to go and surf. I need to listen to some music, and me, Rui, and Kevin, we go out and surf almost every day. So I think that you need to have that, because at the end of the day, direction is more important than speed, and good direction and fun direction is more
Mm-hmm.
important than speed, because sometimes the excessive speed is at the expense of fun and the expense of comfort. And that's it. I think that we need to be able to have the goals. So the patient comes in, this is what we have to do. But if the patient is not in, I mean, why can't we have fun? Why can't we make things lighter in between appointments? Why can't we have things lighter at the lunch break? Why can't we have a laugh? Why can't we? Isn't it? That's one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that I learned with the newer
Yeah.
generations. Or maybe I'm just getting old.
I don't think so.
No,
No,
but it's true.
I completely
No, but
agree. I
it's
think
true.
they practice that and they teach us that also to that we can
They
have
teach
fun
us
at
that.
our work.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
they
Yes.
yes, for sure, for sure. And I think they there's a lot of changes happening because this
Yeah.
new generation yeah, they stepped up and they say, okay, well, I don't want this for myself, or
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
due to that there's changes
Yeah.
happening. So I think it's and there are some good changes. There are some good changes. So
Yeah.
it's a good
One of the
thing.
I
Okay,
just to wrap it
tell
up,
me.
I have a summary here of what we talked. So let me
Yes.
just go through what I wrote down. So challenges
Hmm.
for employing the new generation. So what do they have? They have a sense of fairness that is very important for them, ethics and fairness. They don't like extended hours, especially unpredictably extended hours. They want acknowledgement. They want to be recognized, which is something very, very important. They want to feel valued. They want to have a word of encouragement. So your work is being very important to me. So what you did is very good. They are sometimes curious on the policies of the company for mental health before they are doing interviews and stuff like that. So they
Hmm.
want to understand what is there behind the job. Their social skills are somehow different, and then we have challenges for that. And like you were saying, it's important to guide them into that. So systems and guidelines to minimize impaired social skills are important. They want to have balance, and they do have some works like side jobs and other interests. So it's important to have balance and to have some healthy schedule. Their work is mutable, especially if staff is indifferentiated. Or, for example, I have an employee. I have one of the staff. She is a designer, and I know that it might not be this may be just a transitional job. And I tell her that, look, if you I know that you have a course in design and you may not be wanting to do this for the rest of your life. And I give her some tests of design and social media and stuff. But I am aware that it's maybe transitional, and I cannot be mad at that. I mean, I just have to take. We just have
Hmm.
to be as positive for both sides while she's working with us, and then let's see. So instant communication is also critical with them because, like you were saying, they prompt you and they say, "Look, I don't tolerate this. I want this or I want that,"
Hmm.
and they are less tolerant with some stuff. And the last but not least that we talked in the beginning is that yes, they want some rights, but it is also true that newer generations have their lives easier in a sense and more difficult in a sense. But they need to show dedication. I mean, it's just not all about rights, but they also need to show some responsibility because at the end of the day, if you are not independent, it makes no sense. I mean, you cannot
Hmm.
demand from others if you are not an independent person. And dependency
Hmm.
you acquire independence through hard work and through financial independence and whatever that may be in whatever part of the world and whatever that may represent to you. But if you want to step into the game and to be able to provide some feedback, you also must bring something to the table. Must also be
Hmm.
responsible and above all independent, because if you are not
Hmm.
independent, it's very difficult to provide opinions on how the world should be if you are dependent on other people.
Hmm.
And I think that's a good way to wrap this
Yeah.
up.
Let me just say that we also have to give them the ways of them being
Yeah,
independent, because sometimes what happens is that when they begin
yeah,
their careers, there's a lot of jobs that are not paid. So there's a lot of people
absolutely.
taking advantage
Yes,
of that also,
yeah,
like internships that
that's
are
a
not
yeah,
paid, so working
yeah,
for free. So
yeah, yeah,
I think that has to be a middle path on that. Of course, they
yes,
also cannot demand to be paid like someone that has experience, of course, and that has to do with us saying that they want to reach the top very fast, and that of course
yeah,
cannot happen. You have to learn, you have to
yeah,
gain experience, but
yeah,
they cannot also be the other part
yeah,
where you have internships for free, and
Yes,
you have people working for free and doing assistant nurses jobs or
absolutely.
paying a minimum wage. So it's important also us
Yeah,
to take that responsibility, because we cannot demand
absolutely.
for them to be independent and
Absolutely.
then don't give them because there's a lot of
Yeah.
exploitations situation nowadays in
That's a very
I mean in any
that's a
fields, but in
important point
dentistry
that you raised.
also.
Yeah, that's a
Hmm.
very important point that you raise. You must be able to give before you ask. And we see a lot of very, very outrageous situations in terms of payment to the dentist. For example, one of the things that I do is that whatever the work that is done by a dentist in my practice, it gets paid. Even though it's a friend of mine and I may be providing a discount, they would receive as it would be the normal price, always, whatever
Hmm.
they do, always. Because I find it
Hmm.
actually quite disgusting if you use other people's work and if you force this, and if you want to discount something because you know the person or whatever, and you force other people to be paying with with less
Hmm.
payment because of something that you have decided. I think this is really
Hmm.
something that
Hmm.
is like, and like you said
Hmm.
very well, you need to be able to give to
Hmm.
people what is fair.
And actually I think that it's very interesting, and it has to do also with what you described, like leading by example. I think that one of the things that really it's very useful, for example, in the beginning of your career, it's mentoring, is you finding someone
Yeah,
to work for, that you are paid in a reasonable way, but that you have time to grow and to gain experience. It's like, okay, you are here,
yeah,
you just have to do the best dentistry that you can, and I can help you and I can teach you. And there's this
yeah,
mentoring and this idea of having a mentor, that I think that is something that you still see in some countries, but in Portugal, for example, it does not exist.
yes, yeah,
It's
yeah,
something, and I think that is younger generations very open to that, to be mentored by someone that they respect, and at the same time to gain
yeah,
experience and to start making some money, of course.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That was a good
Thank you
one.
so
That
much.
was improvised theme. It was an improvised theme, but it went very well, isn't it?
Thank you so much. I missed you. Thank
Thank
you
you so
so
much,
much.
Manuel. I miss you as well. So hope that we get.
And
I say we'll see each other on the next on the course on Sagres course, right?
mhm,
So it's good to give
mhm,
a shout
mhm,
out to
mhm,
that.
mhm, mhm,
I
mhm.
must be
Yeah,
more
go to
active on
Soft
social
Bites
media
online.
regarding that.
Mhm.
How many
And
seats do we have more? We have more, one or two seats, right?
yeah,
We
we
have
have
one or
two
more
seats.
seats. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Okay.
mm-hmm.
Perfect.
It would
Perfect.
be nice if someone that is listening to us joined us. Go to softbites.online, send us a message, and join us in beautiful Sagres in the south of Portugal. It's going to be good weather,
Yeah.
I hope, because I'm in need of some sun. And I have missed Portugal very, very much. So looking forward for that. Thank you so much, Andre. I'll see you on the
Thank you,
next
Manuela.
episode. And bye bye, everyone. Thank you for listening.
Bye bye.